This is an oral history project that documents the Chicano Arts Theater, a street theater group formed by San Antonio West Side youth in the 1970s.
I participated with a teatro with Emilio Delgado. I think it's Emilio Delgado, who did Sesame Street, Emilio in Sesame Street. He was doing Mexican American Chicano kind of theater in East Los Angeles in a little church. And he's the one that introduced me, took a group. We were a theater group, and he took us like to go see in San Fernando Valley the Triato Campesino that was performing, trying to recruit people in the fields. So that's the first time that I really got an impact of getting this teatro and performing on a flatbed truck and getting the people that are working out there to walk out and join the union. And we were just observing, we were like, but I was like, wow, man, that's what I want to do. So, and that's when I came back. So when we started teatro, my purpose was trying, since I had been a little experienced and trying to get, I said, I'll try to get young Chicanos to get into, maybe get professional, or whatever. But at the same time, I was gonna combine it with the Chicano movement, because, and so that's why we even call it the Chicano Arts Theater. Yeah, we're gonna be in the arts, but the first word tells you where we're going.
A lot of things were going on, like Raza Unida and walkouts, and like you said, people not being able to speak Spanish in school, and Black civil rights movement. And so we wanted our civil rights. So it was part of what I saw as an awakening when I saw Teatro Los Barrios perform a play, and it was all about pride and culture. And so it opened my eyes to what could be done, how we could educate the community.
I was able to go and see teatros come and perform at Our Lady of the Lake University, and just hearing those voices and that noise that gave us that empowerment, that made us feel that we could do something, that's what pulled me in.
And to be a reflection of the community. Because if a community doesn't learn to laugh at itself, you can never heal. Yeah, and I think that was part of the reflection that we were presented in a funny way. Although some of these kids now might be considered uh, not politically correct, but at the time we have to go with the time and the context of what was happening. That there was a reflection. Now teatros now might reflect what's now, and that reflection might be outdated 40 years from now. So it's a growing process, and the growing process is continuous. You always develop and grow as you go along. What can I do now? How can I alleviate the problem? And how can I help? Just bring in that laughter, bring in that joy, but bring in that reality that you that, that you that you are part of this community. Some of the things that teatro, and I could keep going back to it. Street theater is a little bit different, a lot different than theater. And street theater is what it is. It's a reflection. I think that's my interpretation of it. Others might have a different view of it.
They used to be up here, like across the creek from Cooper Middle School, like in the west side, and then Middle Wessel. And we used to do performances, and so we would block off the street and do performances. And the people loved it. I've never had so many rocks thrown at me because I always got to play the white faced gringo, and so I was the one that's constantly getting the rocks thrown at me by the kids and stuff, and all the catcalling of "Órale, gringo," and stuff like that, and macho, donde yo escupo ni zacate crece, type thing. And then he'd be talking to the compadre because the compadre was crying, and they start talking about, next thing you know, he was crying because of his wife was leaving him. And he would tell the no, compadre, it's más puppy love. ¿Cómo que puppy love? Y tu esposa tiene cara de perro. so so it was some crazy stuff we used to do.
I went to a meeting at where they were at on Buena Vista, and kind of just talked to Sabino and everybody, and I decided that yeah, it was something I would like to be involved in. My mom told me it was okay because it kept me out of trouble, and so that's how I got into the teatro. In fact, I played a guy one time too, a little cholo. Uh, Sabino told me, he goes, no, yeah, there's some young cholos that their voices still haven't you know uh, gotten to be a male sounding voice, so you'll do good. So they dressed me up as a little cholo. It was at Our Lady of the Lake, and so I come out there all like, hey, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasó? I didn't even know what I was talking about half the time, but it was just that was a lot of fun. Sometimes it was a challenge, but half of the time we would just get right into it. And everybody was very good and professional. I know me and Letty did a part one time too where we did kind of crack up, during the scene because it was about uh, our sons being into drugs and sniffing paint, which was the thing back then for the cholos to do. And so my son had supposedly, I don't know if I don't remember if he died or he was, dying or something. And so my friend Letty came in and she was supposed to say my name, Maria. That was my name. And she comes in, she goes, Betty. And I was like, Betty, you were like, did you come? It was hilarious. I just broke up and I was like, I'm sorry. Of all the names you couldn't remember, Maria.
Well, en cuanto a my involvement with teatro, and specifically with Chicano Teatro, and specifically with San Antonio Chicano Teatro, it happened in a fantastic and marvelous way. Sabino Garza, who had written the screenplay for the movie Please Don't Bury Me Alive, I had already met, he shows up in Lubbock. Said, Neftali, we'll come here with a proposition for you. Oh, okay, tell me about it. Would you consider moving to San Antonio? We have a job for you. We need a writer for theater. We need a writer for any other things that we're going to do, such as films and what have you. By that time, I had already been published. I had already published a book titled Five Plays. It was published by Totinum Publication out of Denver, Colorado. Five Plays. So anyway, they were happy with it. And I had already lived there in Lubbock in West Texas for 17 years. That's how many years I spent there. So I said, okay, I'll consider the change. And sure enough, that's how I end up coming to San Antonio, moving to San Antonio, thanks to Sabino Garza and Efrain Gutierrez and the people that already produced all these wonderful things. Um, and when I show up here, one of the first things that happens is they take my book, Five Plays, and they see, hey, La Muerte de Ernesto Nerios, a, a play I had written about someone that had been shot and murdered in Lubbock, Texas by the police of Lubbock.
Going on. So the political wind was blowing. And being a young person, I grabbed that wind, I flew with it. And so I was attending meetings, etc., marching, and reading a lot, and participating in speech competitions on why we should not be in Vietnam, things of that nature. But it was really when I started doing Teatro Chicano that we very much got involved with marches going all the way to Austin, performing in front of the Capitol. So always a lot of engagement. Now, in the early days for our company, we didn't have a writer, we didn't have scripts, but we did a lot of improv, and we would get together a couple of times and figure out exactly how our story's going to be, how we were going to present, and who's going to stand there, who's going to do the movement. And so we would perform a little bit, so we'd get up on stage and would do the show. So we saw a lot of films by the Marx Brothers and then Cantinflas, and we saw their body language, and that's what we started to do: our body language and gestures and bigger than life characters, and then seeing some of the footage of Teatro Campesino where they would put plaques of the name El Patron, El Campesino, the secretary, El Mocoso, stuff like that. So we started doing that as well. We did different things, and we had different artistic directors at Chicano Arts Theater. First, it was Efrain Gutierrez, and then it was Sabino Garza, and then it was Arturo Tames. But either way, we got very much involved, and little by little, we started writing, and we started to learn. We were being invited to perform at theaters, and we knew how timing was so important. We knew that once you had the time, you had to get a rhythm, and you had to pause to make sure that the audience received your communication, the laughter came back. So we were learning in that process. And then there was a march that was all the way from the valley all the way to Austin, and they stopped at Mission Espada, and they stayed there several nights to regroup before they continued to Austin. And so there we got to perform every night.
All the work that I've ever done as an actress is if I can touch somebody's heart and remind them of their past, or look at their grandchildren and say, there's their future. What can I leave behind? Then I've done a good thing. And I think that's my legacy. I want to be to the truest form of performing a character or a person that they know. A character is like, but a person that they know, and I love doing that. I absolutely love doing that.
I remember we had the Banda Ferostica, and we were marching through, I believe it was Gary, Indiana. I'm not sure if it was that place. And we got booed, and rocks were thrown at us by some gringos that didn't appreciate our cause. And that was funny. But we made it. We stuck it through. We got on stage and we performed. But on the way to the stage, yeah, we got heckled. And yeah.
When I was with Savino, I don't know where we're coming from. We were coming from some meeting that he had. It was not too late. It was maybe between 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And we were driving back to Couples Road. And the meeting, I remember vaguely about the meeting. It was like La Causa, Movimiento. And I asked him, Savino, what's a movimiento? So I kept hearing it, but the movimiento was different for everybody. The movimiento for Brown Beret was different. The movimiento for Chicano Arts Theater was different. Teatro Los Barrios, their movimiento was a little bit different. They all had their own spin of what the movimiento was at the time. So I was a little bit confused at 14. So I asked him, I said, what's a movimiento? And he chuckled. He was driving this white Ford Galaxy, remember it, white interior. And he looked at me, he chuckled and said, you're the movimiento. And that's how he left.